I haven't mentioned, and probably because his eye black irritates me, but Mr. Bass went 3 for 3 in bad weather, and he's turning out to be. And it was it was just like when we had Steve Christie,
One
you
from
know.
54 as well.
Yeah, I mean he's got a leg and he kicks really well in bad weather.
Yeah.
He is a weapon for the Bills, and like I said, the one eye black just drives me mad. I mean, really, like I'm waiting for Chili and T-Boz to walk out with him when he has his eye
He's
black
a
on.
third
I know
member of
you.
TLC.
Yes, I know you got that reference. I don't know if
Yes, I definitely got
you
that
did, but
reference. But
no, it's just
yeah,
yeah, tremendous,
he did.
and the punter did well too.
Yeah, he Bass did very well for my fantasy team, so I appreciate it if he's listening. Thank you.
But let's talk about this week. We've got the arch rivals, the dreaded Miami Dolphins coming into town.
Right.
Let me give you some numbers, Sarah. Let's just
Well,
just let's
before you
just
get into that, let me go ahead and do the
yeah,
ad from our
please do.
sponsor.
Yes, sounds good.
It's time to say goodbye to the blur and hello to clear vision. Ficta and Elmer are the first in Western New York to bring you Zeiss Smile technology. Along with our highly experienced surgeons, we promise an effortless journey to better vision. Gone are the days of fumbling for glasses or struggling with contact lenses. Embrace the freedom of superb sight, because we believe you deserve the world in HD. Visit us online at ficta.com and schedule a consultation. Ficta and Elmer, we are focused on you.
Wanted to say real quick before we got into this week's game. Daryl came in. He wanted to give you a little message. Just wanted to say,
Oh,
fear the
he's
deer.
so mean. Everyone like that says that they love me and that they're like my friends and everything. They came at me today on Twitter the second Dame went to Dame. If those people who don't know, Lillard was rumored to be traded to the Miami Heat for most of the season or most of the offseason, and he was traded to the Bucks, which makes my life a living hell because I already, have a hard time with the Bucks because of Giannis. I love Giannis, but I love him. I wish he was on the, West Coast. Not
Well, they were
it
they
it
were
kills
getting
me.
my
So
hopes up. They were getting my hopes up this morning, talking about him possibly landing in Philly. I'm like, man, I'd love that,
yeah.
but
So
obviously that did
in
not
the
happen.
end, everyone's coming at me. I'm heartbroken and I actually muted some of the words today on Twitter because I didn't want to see it anymore.
Well, you should have done what I did. I just finally got sick of social media and I was way too much into it. So I went ahead and turned it off. So my
Okay.
my my X is off. So and I'm not having any issues with that. But anyway, let me run some numbers by you. Miami
Okay.
Dolphins coming to town. This is some of last week's offensive output. Tua, 23 of 26, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Okay, you got how do you pronounce my man's name?
I don't
Achani?
know who you're.
Achani, the receiver for the Miami Dolphins,
You mean the running
or I'm
back?
sorry, the running back. Excuse me,
Yeah.
not receiver, running back. Achani, 18 carries, 203 yards, 11.3 yards a carry. His longest was 67 yards. He had 2 TDs. Uh, Most, Mostert was
Mostert.
13. Mostert was 13 for 82. He had 3 TDs. Brooks had 66 receiving. Tyreek Hill. By the way, folks, if you dig around a little bit, Tyreek gave his after the NFL career wishes today. Did you hear it?
No, I thought you
Okay.
were going to talk about how he was basically saying that, Bills fans aren't
No,
anything.
Tyreek. I don't. He's Tyreek is Tyreek, but pronounced Chain. Thank you very much, Daryl. I appreciate you. I'm old
Oh
and I
yeah.
don't know names.
I was waiting before to have you stop before I,
A
was going to
Chain,
say
excuse
something.
me.
A chain.
And
Yeah.
and by the way, I will let you in since Daryl already called it. This is what our man wants to do when he retires from the
Oh,
NFL, and he talked about that on a podcast today.
I
But
have
that
nothing
guy,
to say.
Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 157 yards, and a TD. Chosen had 1 reception, 68. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Um, talking about
I just
they
wouldn't want
are
to.
they are the team to talk about right now. I mean,
Yeah.
the innovation, the speed,
And
everything that's going on.
I'm not going to discredit McDaniels. I mean, the innovation's crazy. What
Well,
he's been
don't,
doing.
because the last people that discredited him got 70 put on them.
Yeah,
And by the way, this is
that's
interesting.
not happening.
The last time there's only been 4 times that 70 points or more have been scored in the NFL. Okay? The last time that happened, 1962 or 1964. And I want to know if he knew that he was 3 points away from breaking the record, would he have not taken a knee in? Would he tried to kick it to get the record? Because they were at about 40-some yard field goal. Kick it, gets the record.
You're gonna have half the people saying that it was overkill to begin with, and then you're gonna have half the people say no, you go and get the record. I don't care. In the end, they scored 70. They played their butts off to the point where they literally took out their whole starting lineup and had their backups in there catching 68-yard touchdowns. So, I can't say much. What I will say, before we dive into this any further, is it is not happening against the Bills defense. It is not that they are not putting up 70 points. Now, do I think they're going to put up some points? Of course. We've been there before with the Dolphins. I think it'll go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the time runs out. And in the end, I just want to say, Dolphins fans saying that, this is going to be a, cakewalk. Bills fans saying this is going to be a cakewalk. I think we're all, we can all root on our team, but we need to be a little realistic. Our defense is very good. Our offense hasn't quite got kicking the way, we would want. I'm going to say that. I mean, we were against the Raiders. Let me put that out there. But we haven't quite gotten to that point where I feel, confident in how the offense is operated. But I feel like next week's going to be, the week that happens.
Well, I
Just
mean,
how
hell,
Josh operates
I
against the
went to work
Dolphins.
Monday. And ran into one of the guys that I know that works for another company. And of course, he comes strolling in with his Dolphins hat on. And he just commences to start talking major gas.
Oh gosh.
And I'm just letting him have his thing. And I'm walking through the door to go to the ORs, and he hits me with yeah, we gonna score 70 blanking points on you too. And I said, Roop. I just did the old majorette, put the heel in the ground and snapped around, and it got a little ugly. Yeah. But I will say this. I like that our teams are good and we're back ugly again with each other. Not just, oh, well, we're playing the sorry Dolphins, easy game. I think it's good that the rivalry is back.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I will say that when we're talking about, this game coming up, I think that there's a couple things that we need to look at. Number one, how does our offense respond? How do we go out there and, can Josh find, obviously Stephon Diggs has looked brilliant in all 3 games. But nobody else has really, really stepped up. So we need other people to step up. Yes, Gabe did in the Raiders game. I see your name is Bernard/Davis 2024. So I will still give Davis credit for that. And the touchdown catch that he had against the Commanders, that was pretty. I mean, it was so pretty. And the way he took the ball and put it over it was just pretty.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. So I look at it and I say, I don't think the Dolphins defense is as good as they expected to be. And
Well,
granted,
you're
it's only
right.
3 games in.
And it was one of the things I'm going to talk about and what I think the key to the game is going to be. And that key is last week against a sorry Denver team and against a quarterback that has no clue and is washed, and an offensive line that's not very good that had some of their starters go. 1 sack last week is all the Dolphins had. 1 sack. And I mean, Daryl made a comment earlier, and I agree with Daryl, and this is the thing I've been chirping on about the defense. If they do have a weakness, I don't think we're very fast in the back end, and I think we're a little bit old. I know that there's people that don't agree with me, Spence, but you know, relationships and fandom aside, I think that we're not fast back there, and that's a mismatch. So we're going to have to get to the quarterback, and we know Tua
Well,
is fragile.
yeah.
And I don't care how many jujitsu classes he's taken. I don't know if I don't give a damn if he rolled around with Hoist Gracie, the father of jujitsu. If you hit him, he's going to break because weak things break. And the Bills need to get after this quarterback like they did last week.
Yeah.
And that's a huge key for us this week.
Yeah. And I'm gonna shout out because we were talking about Bernard and how much of a great game he had against the Commanders. It's going to be um oh gosh, the one eye black pass. God. Um, all right. I expect to see Bernard. Let's see what he can do because we complained a lot about Edmonds when it was against teams that have the fast receivers or fast back. So let's see what Bernard can do. Um, but will it even ever get to that? That level. Do will
Well, here's the thing, and
we're
I
gonna
put this out
see
on
Taryn.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
I put this on Twitter this week, and the people that have really low reading comprehension scores blasted me for my comparison between Edmonds and Bernard. And if they'd have read the because I'm not one to go out there and just talk gas about our players. I don't believe in it, but I will critique things the way I see them, and I will put them in a tactful manner. Um, in our old defense, Edmonds was really really good at playing Tampa 2, and he was a really good see ball get ball guy. The comment I made was he is an elite tackler on his side of the line of scrimmage. So of course I get, yeah, he leads the league in tackles when it's 25 yards downfield and jumping on. I'm like, did you read the words?
Right.
His side of the line of scrimmage basically implies that, right? Meaning he wasn't a blitzer and a downhill guy. Bernard is a slasher. And if you watch him on film, he does a really good job of finding creases, being able to retrace down the line. He gets past the heels of the offensive lineman. He can make some plays just because he is really able to get through trash quickly. Now, he does have a weakness of getting swallowed up by big linemen sometimes if, the D line's not keeping guys off of him. But I think they're just so stylistically different, right? My question to you, Sarah, is when you look at the defense and what they do and knowing what McDermott wants to do, you compare Leslie Frazier, who beats the Dolphins last year in December, playing a conservative cover 2 style of defense, keep everything in front. Now you got McDermott running, he likes to run a lot of blitzes. He likes to get his defensive linemen in gaps and upfield. Does that scare you more than the latter? Because this is a team that's so fast. If you're trying to hold guys one-on-one, it's going to be it's going to be tough. It's going to be
Yeah, I
tough.
hope we I hope we have someone that's kind of, set there for like contain just in case whether or not that's going to work. That's what happens when you're aggressive though. If you're aggressive and you don't tackle, you miss a tackle, they're too fast and they slip past you, whatever it is, you're going to have someone there to clean it up. So, I'm hoping that they're game planning for that. What I was saying earlier about Taryn is I think he's going to be a very big factor in this game. And then Marcus put on here, do we see Elam getting activated this game? I personally am a little concerned about him getting him activated because he hasn't played in a game yet this season. But I think that you have to activate him so we have depth there because God forbid I should knock on wood right away. Something happened to one of our corners. Um, you don't want Cam Lewis going in as our emergency cornerback at that point. So I think we might actually take away a wide receiver, or we might go a little thin somewhere else, whether it's offensive line or
Right.
I don't even know where else we could at this point. Probably wide receiver and we're going to
Right.
probably have him in there active as corner.
But the deal is this to me, this is why Brandon Bean and McDermott drafted Elam. He was a press man corner that
Right.
has top ends, that has elite speed, right? He was he was drafted to play in games like this
Right.
Sunday.
And he has
So,
played against Tyreek pretty darn well in the
right,
past. So,
right. So to me, this is a game that this is why they brought him in, right? So he needs to be active and he needs to play. Who sits, right? Is it, is it like you said, somebody from another position group? Is it Dane Jackson? Um, are we kidding ourselves and putting Reggie? I mean, obviously Reggie does a lot in special teams, but you got Kincaid now. Kincaid can do the same stuff that Reggie does. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just brainstorming, but
yeah,
he
the thing with
needs to
Reggie is
play this
our
weekend.
our coverage team on kick returns and punt returns hasn't been all that great yet. So this season, I was just looking at it earlier today. So I hope that we could figure out that's the problem when everybody's healthy. When everybody's healthy, it's like who do you inactivate? But
Right.
um personally, Cam Lewis, obviously another special teams guy. He can in a pinch replace Taryn. He can come in as a safety if he needs be. But do they keep all four safeties active? Maybe we have Hamlin inactive again for this game. I don't see a problem with that. So we'll see how it ends up shaking out, but I do think he should be active. The question is he active and does he start? That to me is the bigger question.
I don't know if Elam starts, but I think he I don't know. Maybe they make him the nickel guy this week. Maybe they change things up and they say, okay, you're going to run with him man to man to take one person away, and we'll play.
You can't take
You
Taryn
know,
out of that.
you
Taryn
know.
is has literally been one of the best. Um, I'm going to say one of the best corners, not necessarily just nickel corners. He has been, crazy good this season. I know it's only 3 games, but
Well, when I said that, I didn't necessarily mean taking him out of the game. I'm just
oh, okay.
saying, are you going to come up with different wrinkles to get guys on the field? You
I'm
know.
not sorry. I laughed. This one made me laugh out loud. Ralph Wilson Sr. is on
Yes.
a comedian stroll here today. He said, "Sit Martin and never punt." I like it. I like it. It
But
works for me.
I think that you got to look at this game this week, and I guess did Phillips play last week for Miami? I can't remember if I think he might have. He
Did
had been hurt.
Phillips?
Not the defensive end that's been out for Miami.
Oh, I don't know. I
That
didn't
gives
really,
us
and I
fit.
rewatched. I rewatched the Miami game. It was
That gives
painful to
us
watch, but
fits. That gives us absolute fits.
oh,
Um,
the Hurricane
yeah, what's my man's name? Come on.
Phillips.
Yeah, Phillips, as I thought. And then you got Wilkins as well. Bills need to control the ball. They need to run the ball. Cooks needs to be involved. This is a big game. This is a big game for Kincaid. This is another reason they drafted him for games like this. Um,
That's Wilkins.
yes, yes, but no, I think the key defensively is we're going to have to
Everyone
be
via
able.
podcast, I'm sorry. They're probably like, what the heck is going on? Because we're laughing at all the comments that are coming through. People are
Yeah,
being silly,
Jalen
and I'm not,
Phillips.
I'm
Thank
not,
you,
I'm
Triggs.
not verbalizing them. I'm just laughing at them
Thank you, Triggs. Appreciate that. But no, they're going to have to be able to get to the quarterback without blitzing. They're going to have to be able to get to the quarterback without bringing extra
without
pressure.
blitzing. Wow.
Well, if you blitz, you're man to man in a lot of spots,
But
and
I think,
they're going to beat man to man. You got to
yeah,
be
I
able to
mean,
mix it up,
and Waddle is going to come back. That he was full participant today.
right?
So
So
we have.
I don't think it's necessarily you never blitz, but if you're going to go out there and think you're going to blitz every down and you're going to have
Oh
a ton of
no.
success, it's not going to work. You're gonna have to play honest, and you're just hoping that it's not one play, 2 plays, touch the pad on the goalpost. I mean, you want to make them maybe work a little bit for it, and
Yeah.
those types of things.
There was
But
a couple of plays that I watched. I was watching of Leonard Floyd where he literally was you could tell like one play would happen and like the next play it's like he was timing it like so perfectly well.
Right.
I don't know if it was because Washington wasn't doing a good job
Right.
disguising, or if he just got into their heads enough that he literally could figure out the play. Um, but those are the moments that I'm like, if they could figure out that that snap count or whatever it's going to be, go for it. And I hope that we do put some pressure on Tua. He does get rid of the ball super fast. We all know this. His release is really quick. So we're going to
Right.
need to pressure him a little bit. They have a good running game as well. So we're going to have to make sure that we keep all facets under check.
I did see something this past weekend in the Washington game that made me a little bit giddy, and it just showed that the difference in philosophies between McDermott and Frazier, and talking about trying to use your players' strengths to help them. But when they come out on third down and Ed Oliver's in a 2-point stance and he rushes out of a 2-point stance and wins, I thought that was awesome. And it's
Oliver's looked good all 3 games so far.
because he's been freed up. I think McDermott's realized the worst thing you can do. Ed's big, he's strong, but Ed's not a 2-gap run stuffer. Ed makes his living on, hold on a second. Ed makes his living on the opposing team's side of the line of scrimmage. Mostly, 3 yards behind, much further behind the other team's line of scrimmage than his own.
Keep on making those plays then.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. I think McDermott's freed him up.
Yeah.
He's shooting gaps and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Marcus just put kind of my key of the game. You got to make tackles. I think that we're going to try not to let anything go deep. And everything that we do give them, we're going to have to ensure that we stop it quick.
Right.
We got to make the tackle and make sure that the tackle's complete, because
Right.
that was what my biggest complaint I think was last year, is I never felt like we finished tackles.
I haven't looked on the stats. I'd like to see what Tua's passer rating was against pressures, and I should have looked at that before the show.
Has anyone actually pressured him yet this season?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I've rewatched all 3 games that they played. The first game against LA, against the Chargers, I felt like that was more LA screwing up than the Dolphins winning. It was 38-35. A lot of back and forth, but I feel like the Chargers, like in good Charger fashion, screwed that one up. And someone tweeted out, I think yesterday. It was a Dolphins fan, so I took it a little bit with a grain of salt, but at the same time I was like, really? They said that this is the Dolphin or the Bills' first actual test this year, but this isn't the Dolphins. And I'm like, wait a second, you guys beat like you beat an 0 and now, and granted the Patriots just won, but they were 0-1 when you beat them. You beat an 0-2 Denver team, now 0-3. And you beat now a 1-2 Chargers team that started off obviously when you start off the season you're both 0-0, but like, where was your guys' competition here? But they're calling the Patriots an elite defense, which, the Patriots have a decent defense. I'm not saying I won't call them elite yet. They have an elite brain at the head of it, with Bill Belichick, but I don't see where the actual competition here has been and the challenge has been for the Dolphins yet. And then you got the Bills, who, every team that they have played, again, other than the Jets, um, has had a winning record. So
Broncos are straight trash. Trash.
yeah,
I mean, it's I can't believe how bad they are.
yeah.
And I can't believe how bad Russell Wilson is. So that
He
thing's
has
not
not
going to get
looked
better.
good.
But no, I
But
mean,
he
that's
still
his,
threw for 300 yards.
I know. It just makes no sense to me. But he's still just there's something about him right now that just is. He's like I don't know. He's kind of it's almost a Debbie Downer situation. When he shows up, it's just kind of like, meh, meh.
Marcus said that he has 135 passer rating against the blitz.
There you
If
go.
that's true, that's okay. Then we're
Yeah,
not blitzing.
that's what I'm saying. A guy gets the
What
ball
is
out
it?
quick.
How many blitzes has it been? Is it, are we talking about one blitz or are we talking about,
Here,
22? Like,
right, but here's
that's
the
a
thing that
difference
makes
though.
me feel. This is the thing that makes me feel good. But the problem is, it's not Leslie Frazier. It's Sean McDermott, and I know that sounds crazy, right? But Frazier, for some reason, other than when he decided to play our guy 10 to 15 yards off the best tight end in the NFL in the playoff game, they played Kansas City well. And this is a Kansas City style. Let's not kid ourselves. Tons of shallow routes, tons of drags across the field. I mean, it's, call him a genius, call him what you want. It's a copycat league, and they're copying a lot of what Kansas City does. It's stuff that Tyreek knows. The difference is, I think, that he does a really good job in the run game. It's not just a compliment. It seems sometimes the
Right.
run game in Kansas City is a compliment. He does want to run the ball and get physical, but these little shallow routes and stuff, when you bring guys, it's tough. The thing that'll be interesting to me is I haven't seen us do this yet. I need to talk to Fina and ask Fina, because he probably saw this, and probably saw this where I didn't. If we run any zone blitzes, if we'll bring a linebacker and drop, because we are athletic up front. We can drop Groot. Groot's a huge dude, right? Imagine dropping Groot into the drop zone to play, the hook or the quick slant. I think that could help us mix things up. But if we think we're going to go out there and be aggressive every play and blitz, you saw what it said,
Yeah.
136? I mean, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. And he said that against Denver, he was 7 for 8 for 114 yards and a touchdown. I'm going to take that again with a little bit of a grain of salt because it was against Denver's defense.
Right.
But it is what it is. But the one thing I am a little bit nervous about is because, again, I've watched all three of the games. I rewatched them. I put myself through that torment for watching the Dolphins games. And to me, the biggest thing is they're methodical going down the field, and if you can stop them, you can really stop them. Like they didn't score much the second game of their season against the Patriots at all. It wasn't a high scoring game. It was a low scoring pretty much defensive game. But the biggest thing that they do is their big playability. So we need to make sure that we are constantly covering that,
Right.
because we can't have these 68-yard touchdown passes,
That
because
was,
that just that guts
yeah.
you. It takes everything out of you.
I was going to make that comment, Sarah. We're on the same wavelength on that. And by the way, I think you might be right, Trek reviewer. I appreciate that. AJ's interception, I think, might have been his own blitz. I have to look at it. It was either a stop the rush and play defense, or it was a true zone blitz. But you're 100% correct, and I agree with you. That's the one thing I thought that was the one thing Leslie Frazier's defense did really, really well, is they got people on the ground, right? They might get 25, they might get 30, but they're not going 70. And you
Because we
start
were
playing
playing that far off,
right,
like, all the
exactly,
time.
exactly. It does,
Bend but
yeah,
don't break. I
right,
hated
and
it.
it wins a lot of games. Like I told you a million times, it wins a ton of games. It's like, my analogy about blackjack, right? Not taking a hit on 6 or less. It wins a lot of games. I don't think it wins the big games because it is too conservative. You need some aggression. You need to take some chances. That's what worries me about this game. I mean, if we blitz and we're sitting in whatever, we try to play man or quarter or something, and we get through the first line, do we have the speed in the back end to get guys on the ground? I'm not sure we do. So
All right.
that'll be
So
a big deal.
before we head into our football, our college football talks, do you have a prediction?
Yes, I do.
What's your prediction?
Bills 34, Dolphins 31.
Okay. So it's close to mine. I had said the other day 28-24, but the more I thought about it, I've changed it to 31-27. So Bills, obviously. I
Right.
really think at home we're gonna win, and we're gonna cover the point spread too, which is now 3, by the way. So all right.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment and listen to our college football ad read, and then we can get into that segment.
All right.
Hey, football fans, the season is here. So you know that means family, football, and food. But for the NFL's best fan base, it can't be just any food. Bills Mafia only eats the best during the season. And the best is Picasso's Pizza. With 4 great locations in Western New York, it's so easy to treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's. We are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net.
All right, we got a college football segment, folks, and if you want to, you still can. If you go on to CBS Sports app, Sarah puts the information up. You have it on your Facebook page, Sarah? Is that
It's
correct?
on no, it's on the Line Against Twitter page.
All right, it's on the Line to Gain Twitter page, but you can sign up for the College Pick'em. Sarah picks 10 games every week. You pick against the spread and results. I'm. This is what I hate about the spread, right?
Yes, because actually, I want to talk about something quick before we get into this, and I'm actually going to remove this for a moment. So on Saturday, I am watching the Ohio State versus Notre Dame game, and I just so happened to be sitting right next to Eric Wood. If anyone's on Twitter, then follow me. They probably saw the picture. Um, and he's talking to his friend and I'm talking to my friend and we're going back and forth, and it's 3 seconds left, third down, literally on the 1 yard line. I was like, at this point you just run the ball. It doesn't matter, you like run the ball. You don't need to stop the clock, you don't need run the ball. And as I said it, they ran the ball, as Eric is pretty much sitting there saying, well, yeah, I guess you could run the ball right now, like to his friend. So it's funny, they get the touchdown and he's like, that deserves a fist bump, and he fist bumps me, and then he comes over and starts talking, and I told him, of course I got to name drop Jerry. It's I had to name drop Jerry and everything else, and he was like, well, now we need to take a picture, and so I send Jerry the picture, and I start talking a little trash to Jerry. He's like, well, at least someone picked the right team. And I'm like, wait, yeah, he's right. He's right. But then I thought about it. I'm like, the spread was 3.5.
I know the spread was three
They
and a half.
won by 3. So
Here's the
I
problem.
still won.
Here's the problem. Some of us got the line lower than 3.5. Some of us were
Well,
able to get that line lower than 3.5.
yeah.
But no,
Well,
I
when they dropped, it was 3.5.
yeah, it was three and a
Yes.
half, and then we got to
So,
listen to the rant times 2, the rant 2.0.
so yes, I still got that right. But that was an amazing game. I mean, it was a really good game. It was a
Right.
very defensive, game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm more convinced now that Ohio State doesn't quite know what they have at quarterback yet, than I was,
Gosh.
previous. Even though they won, I still don't think that they really know what they have. They don't look confident at all in every pass play and stuff. So McCord is not Stroud. Hopefully he'll get there as the year goes on for that team. I can't stand Ohio State, so I'm just being political right now. Um, but realistically, those are the two teams that I hate the most, other than Florida State. So it was kind of fun watching them battle back and forth. But
Well, the
um,
deal is though, Ohio State has lived with the running quarterback for how many years, and now they got one that kind of sits in the pocket and throws it, right?
yeah, it's
And
a
that's
very
where
different look.
the difference is. I mean, Ohio State's always been a team that has just thrived on its athleticism, and now it's a little bit different. So I think that has to do with a lot of why they're having some issues. But no, I can't. I went 6-4 this week.
Yeah,
It
I
was
went eight and
reputable.
two. I went
Of
eight and
course you
two.
did, because you just sit and look at freaking lines all day and like read analyze stuff.
No,
And I
uh,
do my picks like in between cases.
yeah.
I like sit there and go
No,
bang bang
it's
bang
not
bang
the
bang.
case, but thank you for your confidence in me.
Yes, it
No,
is.
college football is one of those things that you just never know. If one week it looks, that's what's fun about it. You're gonna watch college football, and I know a lot of people on here don't necessarily watch college football, or some are just starting. But that's what's fun with college football. most of the time the spreads are 22 to 30 points, and
Right.
it's crazy, ridiculous, because you got this big Power 5 team going against some little rinky-dink school that has no business going against each other. Um, and those are the games that are like, but then you have these little ones in between that like you get really surprised with. And, like, we had week 1 with Oklahoma, or with not Oklahoma, with Colorado. You had Texas killing Alabama, week 1. So you have those, games where you're not quite so sure, and that's what
But
makes it
hey,
fun.
last week, I'll put this in Italian terms that you'll understand. If I had any couillons, I'd have bet everything I owned on Oregon. I mean, that to me was the easiest pick of the week.
And that
Oregon
was one that I
laying
lost.
21 and a half. Oregon laying 21 and a half. I was like, if I had the stones, I'd have gone and just put everything, my retirement, all of it, the
Yeah,
dogs,
and that was
the
actually one I
cats,
lost because
everybody.
I've been on the bandwagon. I've been on the Colorado bandwagon. I felt like they were gonna still lose, but I felt like that Dion wasn't gonna let his team get blown out like that. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Dead wrong.
But no, I just last week I took your Florida State Seminoles, who by the way
No,
dropped from
not
four
my
to
Florida
five.
State Seminoles. Don't no, I can't stand Florida
From
State
they
Seminoles.
dropped from 4 to 5. They beat Clemson. That's how well thought of Clemson is right now.
Yeah.
They go and beat Clemson, and they drop a spot, right?
Well, that
Uh,
they also did not look great against Clemson for most of that
they
game.
haven't looked great all year, but they found ways to win.
Well,
I
Florida
don't.
State has looked pretty
They've looked
decent.
decent, but they haven't looked like amazing. Like when you're thinking the top 5, like right now, when I look at the teams in the top 10, the team that's at number 7, they to me look better than anybody.
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
those cats live. I mean, that's a freak show. I mean, it's
So
like going to
anyways,
NASCAR.
right. So this is the new AP poll. Um, the Hurricanes did move up from 20 to 18. I am proud of that. They are now 4-0. But they do not have a game this week. So they will remain that way. Duke is surprising a lot of people at 4-0. They have a test this week though. So will they remain undefeated? I don't quite know.
Duke
Um,
has Notre Dame this week.
yeah. And then USC, you know, to me, they got a great offense. It's ridiculous how good their offense is. Obviously led by Caleb Williams, but they have no defense. Their
They're the
defense is
same
just
team they were
terrible.
when they were in
I know.
Oklahoma. It's the same thing. I don't know what it is about Lincoln Riley, and like I said, he's soft. I
Yeah.
mean, he just and the team is that way, and they bring Grinch in to run this what they call speed defense, right?
All right. So
I'm
now I'm going to put up
whatever.
the picks for this week. And give some context behind it. So, first game we have Utah against Oregon State. Utah is ranked 10th. Oregon State is 19th. It is at Oregon State. I am the one person that picked Oregon State. Um, I
Probably because there
don't
are you like the colors, probably. I bet.
know. I honestly, I always pick against Utah. So Utah, Utes, to all the Utes, you're welcome. Every time I pick against you, you guys win.
Oh,
So
good.
this is gonna end up like I'm gonna end up losing. But I kind of looked at the resume of the games that they've had so far. Utah just hasn't jumped out. Now they're a more defensive team, obviously. I just don't know if they're going to be able to at home outpace what Oregon can do on
And
offense. Oregon State.
amazingly enough, Sarah, I make a lot of my picks on physicality, and I like the physicality of the Utes. I mean, they play tough football. They get after it. So that's why I chose them. I watched Oregon State play Washington State, which was another sneaky, really good game
Yeah.
last week. But I definitely like the Utes.
Ralph with the jokes continuing. He said, will Notre Dame have 11 guys on the field this week? 2 plays in a row. They only had 10
That was
players
so
at the
embarrassing.
end. Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, well,
Crazy.
they're gonna make up a call to signal if they only have." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Count. All right. The next game is number 22 Florida, which came into the season looking ridiculous and terrible for the first game of the season, but they have won now 3 in a row.
This was my hardest
Um,
game to pick, by the way.
so they are taking on Kentucky. I am still not convinced that Florida is a good a good team yet. Like, I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a top 25 team. I think Kentucky's 4-0. That wasn't why I picked them. It was a little bit because it's at home. And they've struggled quite a bit, this season. So I picked Kentucky. At least I feel like they can at least cover the spread. So all
I
right.
I like Kentucky. I like Mark Stoops, but there's just something right now about Florida that I like, and so I chose them laying the
All
points.
right. And then we got Clemson and Syracuse. Both, Syracuse is undefeated 4-0, but they haven't really played anybody. Clemson is just, has lost. Both of their losses has been to ranked teams, but um, they just have not looked great. And to have Florida State come in and beat them, in Death Valley, like, it's just not right. But most people think that they're not. There's no way they're going to lose two straight. Um, Maybe it's a little bit of me going with the hometown with Syracuse, but they're also the underdog, so they're given 6.5 points, so that's why I
Yeah,
picked Syracuse.
yeah, I like the Qs and the 6.5. My good friend's the offensive line coach up there, Steve Farmer. They're doing a hell
Yeah,
of a job, and I like Syracuse in this one. Clemson is just lost. I mean, I've
yeah,
never
I
thought
agree.
they're just lost.
Yeah, I agree. The next game, Texas A&M at Arkansas. Um, I think Texas A&M's looking really good other than their loss to Miami. So I'm picking them. Granted, it's not at home. It looks like you picked Arkansas with the points.
I took Arkansas on the points. I mean, I watched that game down in Death Valley. Good friend of mine, his son Luke is a true freshman that had 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion for the Razorbacks this weekend in Baton Rouge. If you can go to Baton Rouge and play that well, you can play at home that well too. And like you hate the Florida State Seminoles, I cannot stand Jimbo Fisher and
Yeah.
A&M.
Well, I don't
So it's
like
hard for me
Jimbo,
to take
but
them.
yeah, Jimbo goes back to the Florida State days. Next game,
Arkansas
you
sneaky good, sneaky good.
all right. Well, we'll see how that one works out. US number 8 USC against Colorado. Um, at least you agreed with me this week. I feel like USC doesn't have the defense to stop
Right.
Colorado completely. So I look to see. I still think USC is going to win. I just think that Colorado's going to cover the spread.
Um, and I think the biggest thing for Colorado and what that Oregon game did is put them back into perspective. And
Yeah,
I think they've had a much better week of preparation because we have not heard much out of
yeah.
Boulder.
It's been quiet.
And
It's been quiet.
I think that's what they needed. And again, I think Lincoln Riley's soft. I think their defense is soft. I think Colorado probably doesn't win, but I think they'll cover the 22 points, 22 and a half.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Georgia and Auburn. So this one was hard for me. I look at Georgia and I don't see the same Georgia team. So I at Auburn, and Auburn has looked pretty decent. They're giving
Ugh,
them 14.5 points. I picked it, and it's probably crazy for me to pick it. I think I went a little bit more like overthinking this week than I normally do.
right.
Um, but I said, screw it. I'm in the lead, so I have a couple of games lead that I can forfeit a couple of games here and there, but I
The
I
head
think that I think that Auburn could potentially cover, but again, that's because I personally haven't seen the same Georgia team.
the thing that I will go with on this with you, okay? The one thing that I agree with is Georgia does not have the explosion on offense that they've had in the recent years. They're not going to score a ton of points, but neither is Auburn. They have no quarterback, they have no wide receivers, and their head coach has already taken play calling responsibilities away from the OC, and he's now calling plays.
But you just said
Um,
the key there. They're not going to score a lot of points. Neither of them are. So
but I
it could be
think they'll
28-14 and I still win this.
No, I don't think they're going to. I don't think Auburn scores 14 points.
Oh, okay.
I think Georgia can still play defense. I don't think they score a ton of points, but I don't think that. I think they'll score enough to cover the 14 and a half.
All right. And then we got number 2 Michigan at Nebraska. I think this one's, I think Michigan looks like one of the better teams out there right now.
I'd agree.
Which, good for them because it's been a while where they have really shown that they that they can win. And is what's his name coming back yet? What was his
Oh,
suspension?
Harbaugh. Yeah, Harbaugh's back.
Is he back? Okay.
Yeah, it's 4
Because I'm
games.
like, if they're number 2 and they've been winning without him
If you
without him
ask me,
coaching.
if you asked me right now and said pick 4 playoff teams, Michigan would be one of my 4.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got number 13 LSU at number 20 Ole Miss. I am the crazy one taking Ole Miss. I am only doing it again because I, looked back and forth between the two, probably got in my head a little bit. I think LSU is a very good team. I just think it's going to remain very close. And Ole Miss being at home, I'm liking it. Give me two and a
If
half points.
if they gave Ole Miss a little bit more, I'd have taken Ole Miss. I think 2.5 is not quite enough, but right now there's something weird at LSU is on
Yeah.
defensively. They're not the dogs on defense they've been in the past.
Yeah,
And
they've
like I
been letting
said,
up.
last play of the game field goal to beat out Arkansas last week. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's either way. I took LSU just 'cause it's hard for me to pick against them, but I don't blame you for taking Ole Miss.
Yeah. And then we got number 11 Notre Dame at number 17 Duke. I did go back and forth a little bit with this one originally because I have watched Duke. But they
Yeah.
other than Clemson, but Clemson has proven that they are not the team of old. They haven't really beat anybody notable. So,
Who hasn't?
Duke.
I know the record's not great, but they beat Clemson.
No, I just said no. The record is great. They're 4-0. I
Oh,
said,
I thought you
but
said they haven't beat anybody notable.
yeah, I said other than their first game beating
Okay.
Clemson,
Okay. I
they
didn't
haven't
hear
beaten
that part.
anybody notable.
Pardon me.
And
Pardon me.
again, Clemson has shown that they're not quite the same team that they have been in the past. So, I just don't think Notre Dame's gonna lose 2 games in a row. So I
Well,
think they're gonna go in there and they're gonna look ridiculous
and like Ralph
against Duke.
Wilson said, they should be able to have 11 guys on the field more than
Yes.
the whole
Oh
time.
yes. And then we got number 12, Alabama at Mississippi State. Um, I am not hating that you picked Mississippi State because I almost did. But then I was like, then I have a couple that I'm just going crazy with the point spread. So I actually backtracked and then went back to Bama. Um,
This pick was actually probably try to get back in it a little bit quicker than I took a chance here. I know it's a reach, but when I saw it, this pick was the same pick that I made with that Arkansas game, Sarah. I saw the point spread, and I'm like, I think that's too many. I mean, Alabama's offense hasn't been very good.
so
Maybe
you
they
did
can
the
catch,
same thing. Yeah, you did the same thing with Mississippi State as I did with Auburn.
Yes,
It's the same
exactly.
14.5. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. So I'm looking forward to me, like for me having a bye week for football, for me for college football is good because I will be traveling on Saturday. So then I don't have to worry about missing any part of that game. And luckily it's a nonstop, so I won't miss too much football this weekend.
Nope. I mean, it's wild. It's going to be a big week.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch this game. I think this is going to really. Is this our third or fourth game? Third game?
What? The Bills
Bills.
or
Yeah.
yeah, it's our fourth game. Week
Does
4.
it's week 4. So do week 4 games mean anything?
So, okay, we're going back to the Bills one quick second. So let me put this down.
Well, we're
What
almost
I
out of
will
here. I had to make
yes,
that point.
what I will say, I do not necessarily think week 4 games mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but I do think in the division it does matter. We are
Right.
right now 0-1. We lose this game, we're 0-2, and the Dolphins are 2-0. That's a
Mhm.
big deal. Granted, maybe we're not worried about the Jets as much without Rodgers, but we should be worried because we lost to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. We don't know what the Patriots are going to look like. They've been kind of wish-washy. The Patriots have looked really good on defense. So, to your point, does this game matter for the season, for the playoffs, for our record, no. Does it matter for the division? I think it does. So I think that the Bills think it does too. And I do not believe they're overlooking this game. And I do not believe that they're going into this game thinking it doesn't really matter. It's only week 4.
I think that this game could solidify a lot of stuff. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
I really do.
The
Especially
only
with
thing
the
I don't
Bengals.
want, before we get out of here, the only thing I don't want is to have the Bills. Let me rephrase how I say this, because I don't want to say the only thing I don't want is the Bills to win. No, I don't want the national media to attach a narrative to either team that wins, because if the Dolphins win, it's going to be the season's theirs, and they're going to the Super Bowl. They're already talking about them enough at this point. If the Bills win, then when the Bills win, the narrative is going to shift that, oh, maybe the window isn't closed. And then the attention starts to come back on us. I like the attention not being on us. So.
Right. Ralph Wilson puts up good point. 2.5 games behind if we lose, half game up if we win. I think it's enormous. But you don't have to worry about the national narrative because they're already released. Are you ready for this? This is going to be the last thing we talk about on the show. They have already released that Tay-Tay herself, Taylor Swift, will be at the game this weekend on Sunday Night Football. She will be in the stadium.
I really don't care.
Oh, I do.
I'm saying that I'm
I think
obviously.
This is awesome. That's why I'm so pissed at Josh for dating who he's dating. I wish he'd have oh my gosh, he needs Taylor Swift or.
I'm not a huge. I guess I'm not a huge Swiftie or whatever.
I'm not either. I'm not either. I just think it's awesome.
I'm just. I don't know. Like, let them have a relationship. If it works out, it works out. Great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. I don't know. I just think it's over. It's like beaten with a drum. It was the same thing back when Romo was dating Jessica Simpson. I feel like every single game they're panning to the
Travis
to see
Kelce
her
and Taylor Swift greater than Romo and Jessica Simpson.
Well, she's probably.
But I
one
will
of the
say
most...
this: Jason Kelce and DeAndre Swift are greater than Travis Kelce and
I
Taylor
saw that
Swift.
on Twitter. That was cute. Yeah.
Well, hey, we appreciate you guys checking in. Thanks as always for joining us. This is the Line to Gain show every Wednesday night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, help us out. And we'll be back next week talking a Buffalo Bills victory, talking about our jet-setting friend Sarah heading to London.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, where's Waldo? Every week we got to guess where Sarah's going to be. But we'll be back next week to talk about this game. We'll talk about college football as well. We'll talk about that upcoming Bills game in London. It's really cool right now to be a Bills fan. It's pretty awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
I don't know what happened to my camera, just to let you know.
That's all right. That's cool. I like the whole with that little hazy effect, the freeze frame. It's like an 80s video.
I don't know what happened, but
it's like an 80s video. It's like the AHA video in the 80s. But hey, as always, folks, thanks again, and one love and go Bills.
Go Bills.